Hello, children. Welcome back. Now, today I'll be doing a chapter from your course book. That is your chapter number 3.2, Night I Met Einstein by Jerome Wedman. So, children, as I always tell you all, please sit with your textbook. If you don't have, you can download the PDF, and of course, I will be explaining it from the textbook. So the textual lines are also there in this modules. So you will get a grip of it. Those who don't have access to the textbook, you can just pause the videos and see it properly. And one more very important thing, children, as you all know, that those who have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do quickly subscribe to my channel so that you can see more such informative videos, and do put it down in the comment section because your comments motivates me with the new video, and that always will be helpful to you all. So let us start the chapter, The Night I Met Einstein. With children, we have our writer, John Bedman. John Bedman was a famous American novelist who won the Pulitzer Prize in 1960 for the drama Firello. Bedman has, to his credit, around 30 novels, various short stories, plays, and screenplays, and also a memoir. So these were some of the achievements of Jeremy Bedman, and you can see his best-selling book. I can get it for you wholesale. That is one of the best-selling book by Jerome Bedman. So it is about him and his personal experience when he met the great scientist himself, Albert Einstein. And children, you all know a little bit about Albert Einstein. You all know Albert Einstein is a scientist in the field of physics, and he has the world famous theory to him, the theory of relativity. Albert Einstein got the Nobel Prize in Physics in the year 1921. So he is a physics master. So that is about Albert Einstein, and your writer shares this great man, how great he was. So this story will tell you that his personal experience when he met the man. So you have a picturesque glossary about certain terms which is used in the chapter. The term concert, what is a concert? Concert is when you have a musician playing and audience observing. Then you have pipe. Now pipes are the smoking device which a gentleman uses. Then you have the gramophone. Gramophone is a musical instrument wherein you put the CDs there, and there you can, the record player, it's rather a record player where you can hear the music. And here a little bit about Bach. Jonathan Sebastian Bach was a German organist, composer of the 17th century. So he is a musician and he has been talked about in this chapter. So a little bit about history about him. So now we start with the chapter. How the chapter starts is your writer's personal experience that night. So starting with, here I've collected some pictures about when your writer was called for a dinner. The lesson here, The Night I Met Einstein, narrates the real-life incident when the narrator, Wedman, met Albert Einstein for the first time. He recollects that one evening when he was invited to the house of a rich family for dinner, he had an opportunity to listen to the compositions of Bach played by a pianist who was invited there. He was listening. The hostess was very happy to see the writer and the other guest. Though everyone else was happy, I was not. I did not understand classical music. I thought I was tone deaf. So, children, what do you mean by tone deaf? Tone deaf is that you are when you're unable to hear the difference between high and low notes of music. That means you understand music, but you don't understand the nitty gritty of music. So you call yourself to be tone deaf. So your writer was sitting down there, and the hostess told that after the lavish dinner was over. You can see the great grand dinner. It was organized by this philanthropist. Your hostess was a philanthropist. Philanthropist again, children. What do you mean by philanthropist? Is a person who actively seeks to promote human welfare, usually by the way of charity. So basically, the hostess was a social worker, and she had organized a grand feast for the invitees. And soon after the grand feast, there was a concert. Everyone was very happy. I sat down so that I would not be impolite and waited for the concert to begin. I did not pay attention to the music after it began, and after a while I heard everyone clapping, so I realized that the piece was over. Just then I heard a gentle but firm voice saying, "You are fond of Bach?" I knew as much about Bach as I did about the nuclear physics. I was going to say something ordinary so that I could get out of the situation. I turned in order to look at my neighbor, and I saw a very famous face. It was someone with a shock of white hair and a pipe. I knew that I must tell this man the truth. He looked at me as if my answer was very important. So now he realized he was sitting beside the great scientist Albert Einstein himself. So he must give honest confession, otherwise he would be caught. So the story moves ahead. I do not know anything about Bach. It was an honest confession. I said, I've never heard any of his music. So these are some of the pictures of Bach and Bach's performance. He made it sound as if I'd never taken a bath. Look at the analogy which has been created. I would like to understand music so that I could understand Bach, I said, but I'm not able to. I am tone deaf. This is the second time the writer makes use of the word tone deaf. So, children, he has made use of the word tone deaf several times, and he only wants to highlight that he didn't like music. He loved the music which had words in it or lyrics in it. Simple music he didn't enjoy. So, here now the concert was going on. The old man told, old man is Einstein. Will you come up with me? He asked. I remained seated. I'm requesting you to come with me. He said again. So I went up with him. He took me to a room which had a gramophone. Children, I already showed you the picture of gramophone. Here down you can see Albert Einstein had taken him to a room which had a gramophone in it and asked, what kind of music do you like? Well, I answered, I like songs that have words and the kind of music where I follow the tune. So that was a very honest answer given. So Albert Einstein didn't want to give up. He wanted to make a writer understand and love music. So he started playing the music which he loved the most. He smiled and nodded, obviously pleased. You can give me an example, perhaps. I told him I like anything by Bing Crosby. So you can see Bing Crosby was a famous American singer at that time. Now, can you please tell me what you just heard he said? So it was played, and then your writer thought the best way is to sing the lines. And then Einstein said, see, I've highlighted, children, I've highlighted this. Smile, you are not tone deaf, he said. So Einstein told him that please don't call yourself tone deaf if you can sing whatever Bing Crosby sang. So you are not tone deaf. But then he again had an argument. He said, nonsense, I have heard 100 times the song by Bing Crosby. So I was able to sing. So then he said, Einstein, it proves everything. Do you remember? So now Einstein is telling that, do you remember your first arithmetic lesson in school? Suppose at your very first contact with numbers, your teacher had ordered you to work out a problem in, say, a long division of fractions. Could you have done it? So this is what he gives an example. If your arithmetic teacher would have told you to solve fraction as soon as you started learning numbers, and then your teacher comes directly to fractions or divisions, which was a very big division. So would you love maths? You would have hated maths because that would be so difficult, so very difficult. Could you have done it? So now explaining the main central idea here. No, of course not. Exactly. So then he comes to his point. Though he liked music, he was not keen on listening to classical music. When Einstein noticed this, the narrator self consciously admitted that he had never heard Bach before. He took him, and then finally he is started comparing learning music to learning arithmetic, which the author had learned in school, to show how a gradual study of a subject was necessary to understand its complex concepts. Then they went back. Finally, they went back to hear it. So Einstein took him step by step, brought him to that point where only music was played by him, and then too your writer enjoyed it. Finally, when they went back, the concert was over. Only the last few minutes was remaining, and that was the music which was of Bach. So they both enjoyed, and this time your writer to enjoy. So then our hostess came towards us. We both stood up. They were now the Bach's music was being played, and he enjoyed it very beautifully. The author thus shares the greatness and genuine interest of Einstein in spreading knowledge, even if it was about classical music. Then the hostess smiled and said that you have missed it. Einstein smiled and put his arm across my shoulders and ended up by saying one very beautiful line, opening up the frontiers of beauty. So now a new beauty of music was unveiled to your author, Jeremy Widman, and he started loving music in real terms. So the last line, children, what does it mean? Opening up the frontiers of beauty means that your writer now started loving music. He was just loving the lyrics. Now he loves music also. So any type of music will not bore him. He would be more interested to it. So this was his experience when he met the great scientist Albert Einstein. So children, I hope you have understood the chapter thoroughly, and there is no more doubts regarding the chapter now. So you just need to go through the textbook, which I've given you a clippings here, as well as the meanings I've explained you. Please do listen to it. There is a lot of direct speeches. It's a conversational story, and it's a real story by the writer.